My child, before you do anything else tonight, I want you to be still with me for just a moment. Do not rush past these words, my beloved. Let your shoulders come down from where they have been holding all of that weight for so long, and simply listen the way a child leans against the chest of a father who has loved them since before the world even why last of its strength. And it left me speechless. I want you to understand something before I go on, my child, because it will change how you hear everything else I tell you tonight. There is a kind of faith that sings when the sun is shining, and there is a kind of faith that simply refuses to let go in the dark. And it is the second kind that I treasure most. Anyone can praise me when the blessing is fresh in their hands. But you kept trusting me when your hands were empty, my beloved, and that is rare. That is the faith that moves my heart. That is the faith I build a future upon. I know how close you came, my child. I know there were nights you were nearly certain you could not go on for even one more day, when the weight of the silence was so heavy that giving up felt like the only mercy left to you. I was there in every one of those nights, beloved, closer than your own breath, though you could not feel me. And I watched you do the bravest thing a soul can do. You got up the next morning anyway. You did the ordinary things anyway. You kept being kind to the people around you even while your own heart was quietly breaking, and not one of them knew the cost of the smile you gave them. My child, the world hands out its trophies for the loud and visible victories, but heaven leans in closest for the quiet ones, for the person who kept going when no one would have blamed them for stopping. You were that person, and I never once looked away from you, not for a single moment of it. If something in you already feels seen as you read this, my child, I want you to mark it right now. Go down to the comments and type these words: God saw me in my silence, and he has not forgotten me. Say it not as a performance for anyone else, but as the first honest agreement of your heart with what your Father is telling you here tonight. Now let me speak gently to the question you have carried for so long, my beloved, the one you may have been almost afraid to ask me out loud. You have wondered about my silence, not only your own quiet, but mine. You have wondered why I seemed so far away in the very season you needed me the most. You prayed, and the heavens felt like brass above your head. You waited, and no answer came. You asked me to speak, and it seemed as though I said nothing at all. And in that long quiet, a painful thought crept in and tried to make a home inside you. The thought that my silence must mean my absence. The thought that if you could not hear me, then surely I had turned my face away from you. My child, hear me clearly tonight. My silence toward you was never rejection. It was never absence. It was never a punishment for something you did wrong. It was something far more tender than you were able to see from the inside of your waiting. Let me tell you what my silence truly was, my beloved. It was the quiet of a father working in a room you could not yet see into. When the vision I hold for your life seemed to tarry and drag on and on, it was not because I had misplaced it or forgotten to send it. Hear my word to you in Habakkuk 2-3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Do you hear the beautiful mystery folded into that promise? My child, in the very same breath I say that the vision will tarry, and I say it will not tarry. What I mean is this, my beloved: it will feel long to you, achingly long, but it will not be one single moment late by my clock. My timing is not slow, it is exact, and everything that looked to you like delay was me quietly setting each piece in its right place, so that when the answer finally arrived, it would not crush you, but complete you. I know how hard the silence was on you, my child. So let me tell you why I chose it for a season, because there was a loving reason woven through every quiet hour of it. I hid some things from you, not because I did not trust you, but because I was making you strong enough to hold them without being harmed. Consider how I dealt with my own people in the wilderness long ago, as it is written in Deuteronomy 8-2. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart. I did not lead them the long way around because I had lost the map, my beloved. I led them the long way because there were things I needed to grow in them that could only be grown in the quiet, in the waiting, in the place where they had no one to lean on but me. And I have been doing that very same work in you, my child. all through the silence you thought was empty. If your chest loosens even a little as you begin to understand this, my beloved, do not let the moment slip past you. Go and type this in the comments. God's silence was never his absence. He was preparing me all along. Speak it out loud over every season you once believed you had been abandoned in. I want to answer a fear that has haunted you in the quiet, my child, because I do not want you to carry it one more night. Somewhere in the silence, you began to believe that I went quiet because you had disappointed me. You searched your own heart for the failure that must have driven me away. You replayed your mistakes and wondered which one of them had finally been the last straw. My beloved, let me set you free from that torment right now. My silence was never me withdrawing my love as a punishment. I am not a father who goes cold and distant to teach a child a lesson through fear. If you ever grieved my heart, it was never by the smallness you imagined, and even in the moments you truly stumbled. My response was not to abandon you, but to come nearer, quieter, patient, waiting for you to turn back to my arms. Do not confuse my silence with my displeasure ever again, my child. They were never the same thing. Let me tell you plainly what would have happened if I had spoken this whole truth over you too early, my beloved, before the shaping in you was finished. If I had shown you the full weight of who I made you to be while your heart was still fragile, it might not have made you stronger. It might have made you proud. A revelation that arrives before humility has taken root can swell a heart instead of steadying it. If I had told you how deep your calling truly runs before your courage had grown to meet it, you might have shrunk back in fear and said, surely this cannot possibly be meant for someone like me, and you might have run from the very thing I was preparing you to carry. And if I had handed you all the affirmation your soul was starving for right in the middle of your weakest season, you might have started to perform for me instead of resting in me. You might have begun chasing the approval instead of the growth. My child, I did not withhold the truth from you to wound you. I held it back the way a wise father holds back a heavy gift until his child has grown hands strong enough to carry it without being crushed beneath its weight. You see, my beloved, preparation always comes before revelation. This is one of the oldest and most faithful patterns of my kingdom. I did not even send my own son into the world in the first generation after the promise was made. Hear it in Galatians 4:4. But when the fullness of the time was come, God sent forth his Son. The fullness of the time, my child. Not the early rush of the time, not the anxious hurry of the time, the fullness. There is a ripeness to my timing that cannot be rushed without spoiling the very fruit it was meant to bring. And your life, my beloved, has its own fullness of time. A moment when everything I have been quietly building in you finally comes ready all at once. You have been living toward that fullness even in the years that felt wasted to you, even in the long seasons when you were certain that nothing at all was happening. Let me give you a truth to hold on to, my child, one that will reframe every hidden season you have ever walked through. It is written in Isaiah 45:3, "And I will give thee the treasures of darkness, and hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I, the Lord, which call thee by thy name, am the God of Israel." The treasures of darkness, my beloved, the riches hidden in the secret place. There were treasures buried in your hardest and darkest seasons that could not have been mined in any other way. The patience you now carry was formed in a place where nothing seemed to be growing. The depth you now have was dug out in silence. The compassion that now flows so freely out of you was carved by a pain you would never have chosen for yourself. You believed those dark seasons were empty and wasted, my child, but I was hiding riches in them the entire time, and I am about to let you discover how much you actually gained in the very seasons you were sure you were only losing. Go and type this in the comments, my beloved. There were treasures hidden in my darkest seasons, and God is showing them to me now. Let all of heaven hear you finally make peace with the years you once resented. Now let me tell you the story of a man who lived my silence, my child, so that you would know you are not the first of my children to walk this road. His name was Joseph, and I gave him a dream when he was young, a dream of a future so large it did not fit inside his present. But between the dream and the fulfillment, I let a long and bitter silence fall. His own brothers turned on him and sold him. He was carried into a foreign land, he was lied about, and he was thrown into a prison for a crime he never committed. And there, my beloved, in the dark of that cell, He did a kindness for a man who promised to remember him. And then that man walked free and forgot all about him for 2 long years. Can you imagine the silence Joseph sat in? My child, every reason to believe I had forgotten him. Every reason to think the dream had died in the dark. But I had not forgotten him for even a single hour. I was not absent from that prison. I was in it, working a plan so much larger than the one he could see, positioning him quietly for a palace he did not yet know was coming. And when the fullness of the time came, I brought him up out of that cell in a single day and set him over a nation. The silence had not been the end of his story, my beloved. It had been the making of it. And when at last he stood before the very brothers who had thrown him away, he did not speak a word of revenge over them. He said instead that what they had meant for evil, I had meant for good. My child, only a man who had been shaped in the silence could have said a thing like that. The prison did not make Joseph bitter. It made him ready. And the very same quiet that you thought was breaking you has been making you ready for something your eyes have not yet seen. Go and type this in the comments, my child. My delay was never denial. It was God positioning me for what is coming. Speak it out over every year you thought was a detour, for not one of them was wasted in my hands. My child, before I go any further, I want to turn for just a moment and speak not only to you, but through you. There is another soul out there tonight who is trapped in exactly the silence you once knew, convinced that heaven has gone quiet because heaven has finally given up on them. They have not yet heard a single word of what you are hearing right now. This ministry exists, my beloved, because ordinary people who came through their own long silence chose to help carry the light back to the ones still sitting in the dark. If you feel moved in your spirit to sow a seed into this work, so that this word can reach the one who is about to lose their last hope tonight, there is a link waiting in the description below, and you can scan the code there on your screen. There is no pressure in this at all, my child, and no obligation of any kind. It is simply an open door for anyone who feels gently called to partner with what I am doing here. And when you sow into another soul's rescue, my beloved, you are agreeing with me that no one should have to sit in the silence believing they are utterly alone in it. Now let me return to you, my child, because there is still more I want you to understand about the mercy hidden inside my quiet. My silence did not only prepare you, it also protected you. There were seasons when I did not lift you up into the visibility you were longing for, and you took it as a sign that I had passed you over and chosen someone else instead. But hear me, my beloved, I was keeping you out of a light you were not yet ready to stand in. Attention that arrives too soon can undo a person who has not yet been made stable underneath. I have watched many be lifted high before their roots ever went deep, and the very height they thought was a blessing became the thing that toppled them in the end. I loved you far too much to expose you before you were ready to bear it, so I let you grow in the hidden place, in the quiet years when no one at all was applauding, because a plant whose roots go down in secret can one day carry a weight of fruit that would snap a shallow one clean in half. Let me tell you some of what my silence spared you from, my child. Though you may never have known you needed sparing, there was a door you wept because I did not open, and behind it was a room you were not meant to enter. A path that looked golden from the outside, but would have slowly cost you your peace. There were people you grieved to lose, my beloved, whom I gently moved out of your life before they could take you somewhere. I did not want you to go. There was recognition you longed for in a season when it would have gone straight to your head and hardened your heart against the very tenderness I was forming in you. You saw the closed doors and the lost things and the withheld praise as evidence that I had forgotten you. But a great deal of my love for you, my child, has come to you disguised as the things I would not give. One day, in the clear light of a later season, you will look back and see how many quiet disasters I steered you around while you were busy being disappointed that I would not give you what you asked for. The overlooking was not neglect, beloved. It was a shepherd's hand on your shoulder, turning you away from a cliff you could not see in the dark. If your shoulders just eased a little as you understand that even the overlooking was love, my beloved, mark this moment. Go and type this in the comments. God was protecting me in the very seasons I felt overlooked. Speak it in faith over every door that stayed closed far longer than you wanted it to. Let me show you another kind of silence. My child, one that will teach you how to listen for me even now. There was a prophet named Elijah who ran into the wilderness exhausted and afraid, certain his work had come to nothing. And I told him to stand upon the mountain, for I was about to pass by. Then came a great and strong wind that tore the mountains apart. But I was not in the wind. And after the wind an earthquake, but I was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake a fire, but I was not in the fire. And after the fire, as it is written in 1 Kings 19:12, there came a still small voice. My beloved, do you understand what I was teaching him and what I am teaching you? So often you have been waiting for me to answer you in the wind and the fire, in the dramatic and the loud and the unmistakable. And so when I came to you in the still small voice, in the quiet nudge, in the gentle peace that settled over you when you least expected it, you almost missed me, because you were listening for thunder. My child, I am often nearest in the very silence you thought proved I was gone. The quiet was not my absence. The quiet was the volume at which I most often choose to speak to the ones I love. And just as I speak in the quiet, my child, I also hear in the quiet. So let me tell you the story of a woman whose silence I will never forget. Her name was Hannah, and for years she carried an empty ache that she could not fix and could not explain to anyone. She went up to my house year after year with that sorrow, and one day she stood and prayed so quietly that her lips were moving but no sound came out at all. The priest who watched her even thought she was drunk, because he could not hear a single word she was saying. But I heard her, my beloved. I heard every word that never made it past her lips. Her silent prayer was not silent to me. It rose up before my throne as clearly as any voice that ever sang aloud in my courts, and in my time I answered her and filled her empty arms. My child, I want you to understand what this means for you. The prayers you could not even find the words for, the groans too deep for language, the tears you cried when you had nothing left to say, I heard every one of them. Your silence was never silence to me. I was listening to your heart long before you could speak, and I have already begun to answer. If that truth settles something tender in you, my beloved, then let it become a quiet confession within your own heart tonight. God heard even my silent prayers, the ones I could not put into words. Say it softly to yourself as a soul finally understanding that it was never once ignored. And let the old fear of being unheard fall away from you for good. And now, my beloved, let me answer the lie that the long silence tried to plant deep in you, because I will not allow it to remain in the soil of your heart one more day. When I was quiet, the enemy of your soul saw an opening, and he moved in close to whisper his own cruel interpretation over my silence. He told you that my quiet must mean you were not good enough. He told you that unanswered prayer was proof that you had been rejected. He told you that the delay was a verdict against you, that the waiting was a punishment. That being unseen was the very same thing as being unwanted. My child, none of that was ever true. He is a liar, and he has always been a liar from the beginning, and he took the tender thing I was doing in the secret place and tried to twist it into a weapon to use against you. But notice something, my beloved. He could never quite make you fully believe him. Some stubborn ember in you kept resisting the verdict of worthlessness, even when you had no argument left to fight back with. That resistance was not merely your own strength, my child. It was me, holding on to you from the inside, refusing to let the lie become your final word. Take one slow breath with me right now, my beloved, just one. And if it goes a little deeper than your breaths have gone in a very long while, take it as a sign that the truth is settling into a place the lie used to occupy. Go and type this in the comments. My waiting was never rejection. I am seen, I am loved, and I am being made ready. Say it as agreement, my child, not as pretending, but as trust laid down out in the open where heaven can see it. Let me tell you what I was truly doing in you during all of that quiet, my beloved, because you were never able to watch it while it was happening. I was humbling you, not to shame you, but to make you a safe place for the blessing I intend to pour out. I was stretching your patience so that when the good thing finally came, you would be able to steward it well and not squander it in a season. I was sharpening your discernment so that you would be able to tell the difference between my true voice and every clever counterfeit that would come later for your attention. I was gently breaking your dependence on the approval of other people so that you would be able to stand firmly on my approval alone when the crowds and the opinions finally arrived. None of that could ever be built in a single moment of applause, my child. It could only be built in the quiet, where no one but me was watching, and where you had to choose to trust me without one single reason that anyone else could see. And there is one more thing my silence was doing that you could not have known at the time, my beloved. Sometimes I was quiet because you were asking me for something small, and I was busy preparing something far larger. You prayed for a door, and I was building you a house. You asked me to fix one broken thing, and I was quietly restoring the whole of it. Had I answered the smaller prayer the moment you prayed it, my child, you would have settled for far less than I always intended to give you, and you would have walked away satisfied with a cup when I was preparing an overflowing table. My silence over the small request was never a no to your heart. It was me protecting the greater yes that was already on its way to you. There were things you begged me for in tears that I withheld, not because I did not love you, but because I loved you too much to hand you something that would have kept you from the far better thing I had already set aside with your name written upon it. One day, my beloved, you will thank me just as sincerely for the prayers I did not answer as for the ones I did, because you will finally see the whole picture I could only see from the beginning. There is a picture in my word that will help you understand all of this. My beloved, my son once said, as it is written in John 12:24, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. Think of that seed, my child, buried in the dark alone, hidden with the whole world walking overhead, entirely unaware that anything is happening down in the soil. To every eye above the ground, that seed looks lost. It looks finished. It looks forgotten. But underneath, in the silence and the dark, it is doing the one thing that will one day fill a whole field with harvest. You have felt buried, my beloved. You have felt hidden and alone and passed over, but you were never lost in the ground. You were a seed in the dark, and everything the silence did to you was the very thing that is about to bring forth much fruit. Think of a field in the dead of winter, my child. To every passing eye it looks barren and finished, stripped bare, as though nothing could possibly be alive beneath that cold and silent ground. But the farmer is not troubled by the winter, my beloved, because he knows what the winter is for. The winter is not the death of the field. It is the rest the field must have before it can bear again. The cold is doing a hidden work in the soil that the summer never could. And when the spring comes, the very ground that looked so dead breaks open with a life that was there the whole time, waiting under the surface. My child, you have walked through a long winter, and you feared it meant that your fruitful years were behind you. But I am the God of the seasons, and I have never yet let a winter have the final word over one of my children. Your spring is coming, my beloved, and it is coming precisely because your winter did its quiet and necessary work. And I want you to hear something now that will heal the deep ache of feeling left behind. My child, you are not behind. The comparison that told you everyone else had raced ahead of you was measuring your one life by a ruler I never once made for you. I did not give you someone else's timeline. I did not assign you someone else. S-Road, I made you on purpose, for a purpose on a schedule I authored with my own hand before you drew a single breath. Hear the intimacy of it in Psalm 139:16. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. Every one of your days was written down in my book, my beloved, before even one of them had come to be. You are not running late. You are running exactly on the time that I set, and the season you are stepping into now could only ever have arrived after everything the silence accomplished in you was finally complete. Go and type this in the comments, my child. I am not behind. God wrote my days with his own hand, and my timing is in his care. Let heaven hear you lay down the exhausting weight of comparison for good. Now hear my promise about what comes after all the humbling, my beloved, because the waiting was always pointed toward a rising. It is written in 1 Peter 5-6, Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. In due time, my child. There it is once more. The lifting up always comes, but it comes in its due time after the hidden work is finished, when your character has at last grown strong enough to carry the height without being harmed by it. You were held under the mighty hand, not because I was pressing you down to keep you low, my beloved, but because I was holding you steady until the exact moment was right to raise you up, and that moment is nearer to you now than it has ever been in all your life. I know a quiet fear has whispered to you that perhaps it is simply too late, my child, that too many years slipped by in the waiting, that the window you were meant to walk through has already closed, that whatever I might have done with your life would have to have happened by now. Let me put that fear to rest, my beloved. There is no expiration date on my promises, and there is no age at which I set one of my children aside as finished. I have made rivers spring up in deserts that everyone had written off as dead ground. I have brought life out of wombs the world called too old, and purpose out of lives the world called too far gone. The length of your waiting was never a sign that you missed your moment, my child. It was the measure of how significant your moment truly is, for I do not spend long years preparing a soul for something small. You did not run out of time, beloved. You were being timed, and the very lateness that frightened you is about to become the testimony that astonishes you when you see what I can do in a single season after so many silent ones. Let me remind you of the shape of all of this, my child, so that you will trust the pattern even in the seasons when you cannot yet trace it. It is written in Ecclesiastes 3:1, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven." And then, only a few lines later, in Ecclesiastes 3:11, "He hath made everything beautiful in his time, not beautiful in your time, my beloved, not beautiful in the very moment you demanded it. Beautiful in his time, which is the only time in which a thing can ever be made truly and completely beautiful. There were pieces of your life that would have been ugly and half-finished if I had forced them out into the open too early. But I am the God who makes all things beautiful in their time, my child, and I have been carefully carrying all your unfinished pieces toward a beauty that you are only now beginning to glimpse on the horizon. I know the enemy will try to visit you again after tonight, my beloved, so let me prepare you before he ever comes. When this warmth fades, as every feeling eventually does, he will slip back in quietly and whisper that nothing has really changed, that you imagined all of this, that the silence will simply return and swallow you whole again. Do not argue with him, my child, and do not be afraid of him. Simply return to what your Father has told you here tonight. The fading of a feeling is never the failure of a promise. When the old thought comes knocking again, answer it out loud with the truth. My silence was preparation. My waiting was protection. My delay was positioning. My Father makes all things beautiful in his time. Speak it, my beloved, until the whisper loses its grip and slinks away, because my word will still be standing long after the feeling has come and gone. And notice the timing of his attacks, my child, for it will teach you something. The enemy does not waste his energy on lives that carry nothing. He does not come with his fiercest lies against a soul that has no future worth stealing. So the very intensity of the silence he tried to weaponize against you was, without his ever meaning it to be, a strange kind of confirmation. He fought that hard to make you forget who you are, precisely because he could see what I placed inside you, and it frightened him. A thief does not break into an empty house, beloved. He came because he knew there was treasure within. So the next time the old discouragement returns and whispers that you are ordinary and forgettable, hear it for what it truly is, my child. The panic of an enemy who knows your season is turning and cannot stop it. And I want you to know, my child, that nothing you did in the silence was wasted or went unseen by me. I kept a careful record through all of it. Not a record of your failures, but a record of your faithfulness. Every single time you chose to be gentle when you had every reason in the world to be hard. Every time you chose patience over the anger that would have been so much easier to give into. Every time you kept praying when there was no evidence at all that anyone was listening. I saw every bit of it, my beloved, and not one moment of it was lost. You were building something in the dark whose value you could not possibly calculate at the time. And now I am ready at last to show you the true worth of everything you built in the seasons, when you believed you were only barely surviving. Now that you understand my timing, my child, let me ask one gentle thing of you as you step into what is next. Do not try to rush the unveiling with your own hands. The same patience that carried you through the waiting will serve you just as faithfully in the season of being seen. When you begin to sense the doors starting to move, do not throw yourself against them and force them before their hour. The God who was never late in the silence will not suddenly become late in the harvest. Trust me to open what is meant to open exactly when it is meant to open. There is a striving that comes not from faith but from fear. My beloved, a frantic pushing that says I must make this happen myself before it slips away. You do not need that striving anymore. What I have prepared for you cannot slip away because I am the one holding it, and I do not fumble what I have promised. So walk forward at the unhurried pace of a child who trusts their father completely, my child, and let me be the one who sets the timing just as I always have. And hear me on this, beloved, because I do not want you to carry a burden I never asked you to lift. You do not have to strive to keep the truth I have spoken over you tonight. You did not earn it by your performance, and you cannot lose it by your weakness. It rests on my faithfulness, not on yours. On the days ahead when you feel strong in it, it will be true. And on the days when you feel nothing at all and wonder if you imagined the whole thing, it will be just as true, because my word does not rise and fall with your feelings. So lay down the pressure to feel it perfectly, my child. Simply let it be true whether you feel it or not, and let that be your rest. Go and type this in the comments, my child. Nothing I did in my hidden season was wasted. God saw it all, and He kept every bit of it. Let it rise up as your agreement with a heaven that never once looked away from you. So let me say to you now the very thing I have been leading you toward this whole time. My beloved, the silence is ending. Not because you finally performed well enough to at last earn my voice, but because the work the silence was sent to accomplish in you is finally finished. The veil is lifting, not so that you can become loud and proud and full of yourself, but because what I have built in the secret place was never meant to stay hidden forever. A lamp is not lit only to be hidden under a basket, my child. A foundation is not laid so that nothing will ever be built upon it. Roots do not push down deep for no reason at all. There is a fruitfulness coming to you that could only ever have been produced by everything the hidden years grew in you, and you are stepping now into a season of finally being seen, not for the sake of your own name, my beloved, but for the sake of all the good I am longing to do through a life that has at last been made ready. Take one more slow breath with me, my child, and let your whole body settle for a moment into the truth of this. You were never abandoned. You were being authored. You were never forgotten. You were being formed. You were never rejected. You were being made ready. The God who seemed so silent was never once far from you, and the quiet you walked through was the sound of my own hands at work in a room you simply could not yet see into. And here is what I long for you to know as this season turns, my child. The silence you walked through was never only for you. One day soon you will sit across from someone who is drowning in the very quiet you once knew, someone convinced that heaven has forgotten them, and you will be able to say the words no untested person could ever say with any weight. You will tell them, I know how the silence feels, and I know it is not the end, because I lived it and my God brought me through. That testimony is being written into you right now, my beloved, and it could only have been written by a soul who endured what you endured. The very pain you thought was pointless is becoming the exact medicine another wounded heart will need. Nothing was wasted, my child. Not one tear, not one silent night, not one unanswered prayer. All of it is being gathered up into a story that will one day set someone else free. Now go and type this final declaration in the comments. My beloved God was never absent. He was preparing me, and my season of being seen has finally begun. Before you go, my child, I want to leave one last word over the road that stretches ahead of you. As you walk into this coming week, be gentle with yourself. The very way that I have always been gentle with you when a new silence comes, and silences will come again. Do not rush to fear its meaning. Trust the Father who has now taught you what His quiet truly is. Watch for the small confirmations I will send you, the little beauties I make in their time. And when you notice one, stop for just a moment and simply say thank you. I love it when my children are grateful. My beloved, not because I have any need to be thanked, but because gratitude keeps your eyes open to just how near I have been all along, even in the dark. And I am not finished with you, my child. Not even close. The very best of your story is only now beginning to be told, and you have been given a front row seat to watch me tell it, page by unhurried page. If this word has met you right where you are tonight, my beloved, and you feel that quiet nudge in your spirit to help carry it along to the next person still sitting in their own silence, then I want to leave that door gently open for you. This message reached you tonight because someone who walked this road before you chose to sow a seed so that it could travel all the way here to you. If you feel moved to do that very same thing for the one who comes after you, my child, there is a link waiting in the description, and you can scan the code there on your screen. Whatever you choose to sow becomes seed for another soul's breakthrough tomorrow, for the tired and aching heart who has not yet heard that heaven was never silent because heaven had left them. There is no pressure in it at all, my beloved, and nothing owed by anyone. It is only an invitation to help keep the light moving forward to the next weary one still waiting in the dark. Now let us pray together, my child. Before you go, Father, thank you for this moment. Thank you for my friend who is still here, still believing, still trusting you even after all the long silence they have walked through. I speak peace over their mind right now. I speak rest over their weary body. I speak hope over their future. They have waited long, and now they are finally learning that the waiting was never wasted for a single day. Let them feel your presence in a way they can almost reach out and touch tonight. Let them know deep down in their spirit that you were working the entire time, that you are faithful, and that not one single day of their long season was ever forgotten by you. I bless them with peace, with patience, with the quiet confidence of a soul that finally understands your timing, and with the deep and settled assurance that they are loved completely and held securely in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Go in peace now, my beloved child. Your Father saw you in the silence. Your Father was with you all through the waiting, and your Father is not done with you, not by a long way.